think your ex has changed? Here's the brutal truth. 9 out of 10 people who get back with an ex fall into the exact same mistakes, like an emotional torture experiment. But here's the secret almost no one talks about. There's a psychological method to find out whether it's worth trying again, or if you're about to destroy yourself emotionally all over again. Before anything else, let's get this straight. Missing someone is not love. It's dopamine firing up your brain's pleasure circuits. Remembering the smile, the voice, the sex, or the good moments tricks you into believing things can work again. But what your brain hides from you are the fights, the lies, and the disappointments that ended everything the first time. Here's a practical, real tip. Stop romanticizing nostalgia. Grab a piece of paper and write down every real problem from the previous relationship. Everything. No filter, no sugarcoating, every toxic, painful, or unsustainable thing. Once you write it down, you'll see clearly what was actually happening, and that clarity becomes addictive, the first hit of dopamine that makes you want to keep watching. Secret number 2, distinguish longing from growth. Ask yourself, do I want to go back because I've grown and learned something real, or just because I miss them? If the answer is just missing them, you're about to fall into the same cycle again. If it's growth, then there's a real chance for emotional evolution. And here's what almost no one tells you. Before trying any kind of reconciliation, you need to see if you've actually changed. Not little surface-level changes, but deep transformation. That means understanding your emotional patterns, taking responsibility, and learning how to deal with frustration without shifting blame. Practical tip, start writing down your behaviors and reactions in past conflicts. Ask yourself, what did I do wrong? How can I act differently next time? This is the first step of what I call psychological training for safe reconciliations. Now that you know longing is not love, and that growth is essential, let's move into the strategic part, the psychological examination of your relationship. This will make you think differently about reconciliation and help you decide with clarity, without the romantic illusions that mislead you. Step 1, list the horrors of the past. Every problem, every moment of frustration, every time you felt alone even while together, every communication failure. It sounds harsh, but here's the psychological trick. The more you revisit what was painful, the less likely you are to repeat the same mistake. This is the first hit of emotional clarity. You feel in control of what once felt like chaos. Step 2, identify what cannot change. Not in you, not in them. Accepting limits is liberating and prevents future frustration. For example, if your ex never learned how to listen, you won't transform that overnight. Knowing this now saves you years of suffering. Step 3, a brutal self-analysis. Ask yourself, what problems did I bring into this relationship? How was I difficult to deal with? Most people ignore this part, but this is where you gain emotional power. Recognizing your own flaws creates clarity and confidence, and your brain loves it because it sees real signs of growth. Step 4, a powerful secret most couples ignore, involve a trusted friend. Not to decide for you, but to evaluate your ex with cold, impartial eyes. This friend can point out patterns you don't see and predict emotional traps ahead. Having this feedback is like adding a radar for emotional protection. And now, the question that changes everything. Can you actually verbalize your changes and clearly explain what you will do differently? Behavioral psychology shows that people who can talk for hours about what they learned are far more likely to act differently in practice. If you can't do that, it's just empty talk, and you already know what happens next. In the next section, I'll show you how to plan a conscious restart with practical tools that prevent drama, fights, and regrets, and that help you make decisions based on emotional intelligence, not temporary feelings. We've reached the decisive moment, restart or walk away for good. And here, every choice is strategically grounded in real psychology, so you don't keep making the same mistakes. First, ask yourself, and ask your ex too, what can't I change about the other person, and how will I deal with that? How much of the other person's flaws can I tolerate without hurting myself emotionally? Which conflict patterns do we need to transform so we don't repeat the past? If you both have clear answers, you're ready for a conscious restart. If not, it's time to cut ties for good, and that decision is more self-love than pain. Psychology proves trying to get back together without these answers leads to a guaranteed cycle of suffering. Second secret, external learning. What have you learned from other relationships or recent experiences? Which mistakes should you avoid? What helped you understand yourself and your partner better? Applying those lessons is essential to avoid repeating destructive patterns. Third secret, planning for future conflicts. Picture a real argument. Instead of yelling or blaming, you have concrete resolution strategies. Diplomacy, clear communication, empathy. These are learned skills, not instincts. Mastering them gives you an addictive sense of emotional control that keeps you committed to the relationship in a safe, healthy way. Fourth secret, a third evaluator. Ask a trusted friend to assess your ex and the possibility of getting back together, analyzing. Understanding of past problems. Ability to change. Deducing level of defensiveness. Conflict management. How much your ex values you. If the feedback is positive, there's a real chance of success. If not, walking away is the wisest, most mature decision. Finally, remember, true love requires emotional maturity, courage, and learning. Passion and longing are not enough. When you learn to recognize patterns, accept limits, and act with clarity, you avoid cycles of pain, and you build solid relationships, or you live happily on your own without repeating old mistakes. If you've made it this far, you already know. True love isn't just passion or nostalgia. It's courage, emotional maturity, and real growth. Reconciliation only works when both people have changed, understand their own mistakes, and know how to handle the patterns that caused suffering before. If there's no change, the cycle repeats. If there is, it's time to rebuild with intelligence and awareness. And if you want to keep receiving practical psychology and relationship insights, avoid heartbreaking mistakes and build healthier connections, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, and leave your like.